Hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of r/malicious compliance. In today's episode, you don't want me to do my job correctly. Fine by me. Fine, we can play it that way if you want. Inmate thinks I'm a new CO and that he can run all over me. Before we get started, be sure to subscribe so that you will never miss a video. Let's get started. You don't want me to do my job correctly. Fine by me. Sorry for possible spelling mistakes. This was written on my phone. I'm dyslexic and this isn't my first language. I was at work when I got called in by my manager. She told me that someone had complained to her that I always start working the second I enter the cafe and shop, and that I wanted to finish all the work right away. They told her that I had my own structure of how I do my job and when I do my job, and they didn't always agree with when I did my job. So I asked her why no one has ever approached me about it. I always ask the people that I'm working with what they want to do, and when something that I do affects them, I ask them first. She told me that they felt like I would still do my own thing and ignore their wishes. I then learned that there was actually one person, let's call him Richard. Now, I don't dislike Richard, but Richard is a mess. He has ADHD, he is known to procrastinate, he doesn't do a lot while we work together, and he needs multiple breaks even though we're only technically allowed to have one 30-minute break. Now, I always accommodate to the people that I work with. I do have my own schedule of when and how I do things. I always follow the rules. I'm easily stressed and overwhelmed, and I'm able to be a more pleasant person when I have structure. I have also had a surgery, and that means that I have a limited amount of strength/energy. So during an 8-hour shift, by the 6th hour I'm exhausted and working hard to finish the last bits of work. I also don't like to relax, stand still, because then my thoughts catch up to me, and that's something that I try to avoid. That means that if I'm working with someone, I do both my job and at times half of theirs. I believe that we also finish on time when we're finished an hour earlier. One reason is that a lot of things can and often go wrong last minute. Our coffee maker can break down, our pin machine might stop working, the fridge can flood, a lot of customers can come in last minute and drop their hot drink over the mopped floors, and more. This is not me being dramatic, all those things just happen. Now, if you're ahead of the game, it's not that bad. I tried to explain that, but my manager told me to try and accommodate to Richard's needs more. So I told her that I'll just leave the planning to Richard so he wouldn't feel bad about it anymore. That's where the malicious compliance started. I had to work with him every day that week. He came in, late as always, and I told him that I had a conversation with our manager, and that I'll be following his schedule to do my job from now on. He seemed happy about that. Now, normally I count our cigarettes and clean the first oven, which is a 2-hour process. You don't have to do nothing during those 2 hours, but all the programs collectively last 2 hours. I didn't do that cause he didn't tell me to. I didn't bake at the appropriate times cause he had an issue with that. I didn't clean our first coffee maker, didn't count the first register, didn't check the products in advance, and more. Now our shifts are from 1500 till 2300. At 2000 he asked me what we needed to do. Now it's his job to fill the store, which he hadn't done. The whole store was a mess and we hadn't done anything. So he told me that it was okay to start with all the tasks. Now, normally I still make the coffee, handle the cash register while doing all the other tasks. This time, however, I couldn't because I had about 6 tasks that needed to be done on time for us to finish somewhat on time. So he had to handle the cash register while working in the store. We ended up finishing a little before 2 and we left the store a mess. We got many complaints in the morning because their shift became more difficult cause I didn't prep the store for them, like I normally do. However, I wasn't done. The next day I showed up and did the same thing. He still only wanted to start at around 1950 with all our tasks. And again, we finished later. My manager told me, okay, just split all the tasks and do your thing at your time and leave his tasks for him. I was fine with that. He seemed happy that I started to do my own thing again, however. He believed that I would go back to doing it all. This time I was done with all my tasks at 2000. He still hadn't done anything. At times he would just grab a couple of bottles of water and half-stock the water, but that was about it. I wasn't bothered by that because it wasn't my job. At 2200 he looked at me and asked me what we still had to do. I told him I'm already done with all my tasks. So after we close the store, I'll clean the last coffee maker. I looked at him with confusion. I don't know about what you still have to do though. I didn't keep track of it this time, I said. He looked at me in shock, but I ignored him and went to help our customers. He quickly ran to the back and started to grab all the drinks that needed to be refrigerated, and started to stock the store. Of course, I would have loved to help him, but as I suspected the pin machine no longer worked and everyone had to pay with cash. This slowed everything down and there was a large crowd coming and I needed to help them. I helped them the whole hour, until closing time, and cleaned the last coffee maker. I was done. We had closed at 20 to 45 and I was done at 20 to 59. I looked at Richard and he looked at me. There is so much that still needs to be done. But I do get it if you need to leave, he said while looking at me expectantly. Now normally I would have taken the bait and helped till we were done with everything and pushed past my limits. But then before I could even say anything he said, "Great. Can you do this and that really quickly? Thanks," while grabbing his phone and putting his headphones in. I no longer felt bad and grabbed my stuff and clocking out. I walked back to him with my jacket on and I smiled at him sweetly. "Thanks for understanding. I do really need to go, but good luck." I walked away feeling great. He had done nothing all day and I was done picking up his slack. I knew that it would take a while for him to finish and that I wouldn't keep working twice as hard to make sure he didn't have to work. I also messaged my manager to inform her that I was done with everything and had to go home directly after closing time, but Richard was still working to finish his job. You'd think that that was the end, right? Wrong. The next day he came to me, feeling very upset. He claimed that I chose the simplest tasks and that he had to do more, and that was the reason that I finished first. It had nothing to do with planning, but everything to do with the tasks. So we switched tasks. I took care of the store, stocked everything and jumped in at the cash register when needed. I still managed to be finished with everything at 2200. Kept everything beautifully stocked and decided to stock everything and not just the beverages. We closed our doors at 20 to 45. I refilled the empty spaces left by the customers. But because I had stocked everything well, I was done at 20 to 50. I clocked out and left. He was still not done with basically anything and forgot many of the tasks. I actually got a compliment because the store hasn't looked that good in weeks. He got a complaint because he forgot to turn off our milk machine that we use for our cappuccinos and cafe lattes. Now something to note about that machine is that every 45 minutes that it hasn't been used, the machine automatically cleans itself, aka hot water comes out of it every 45 minutes. And he forgot to turn it off, so by the time that the morning team arrived they saw a mess of water all over the floors. He also didn't bake any cookies that he is supposed to bake the day prior, because in the morning they already have to bake a lot, and the cookies need to cool off before they're sold. So yeah, the next day he apologized and asked me to keep track of my own work and his, and to please tell him when it's smart for him to do his job. I agreed and the manager was informed. We finished 23:15, later than I would like, but it was a great improvement. He also apologized for seeing me planning everything as me wanting to play the boss, and admitted that he didn't have a great concept of time and how long it took to finish most of the tasks. We're good now, but there was malicious compliance. It's not too terrible, because we both get paid for overtime hours, so we've both benefited from this lesson. Edit, I meant to write that we both got paid overtime and not that we don't get paid overtime. Edit, I'm genuinely so ducking upset right now. Richard had switched shifts so he can work in the morning. He then did nothing that the morning shift should do. So I came in and everything was a mess. Let's say that that's fine. Okay, I had to work harder to finish it all, but that's not all. I don't know if he did this in purpose, but he took the only key that I'm supposed to use to close the store. I have looked everywhere but I can't find it. I have spent more than 2 hours looking and I'm so ducking stressed that I am literally shaking. The store is now a mess. My manager is trying to fix something but can't. We tried to call him but he turned off his phone. So it doesn't matter if we'll finish early, cause we have to wait till 2:30 when they close the station that the store is at, because we can't just leave the store open. I don't know if this is some kind of petty revenge, but I am just so upset and mad about this all. Edit again, thankfully we can go home earlier than expected. Someone who works at the cafe and is close to him went to his house to get the keys, so hopefully everything will be alright. I'm still annoyed though, but that's just me. Maybe it's in my head, but I feel like he did this on purpose. First he changes his shift to work the mornings. Nothing is done in the morning, which gave me more work. He just happens to accidentally take the key. He shouldn't even have the keys. Then he just happens to turn off his phone all day. So even though we finished on time we had to wait. That just seems like he's trying to teach me a lesson, but maybe I'm just seeing things that aren't there. I don't know. Edit after the drama, I had to work again and I worked with a colleague who works with Richard, 27 years old, more often. He also knows that when he works with Richard he basically has to do everything. He did talk to me about Richard's personal life and told me that he officially quit going to school because this year was his last attempt at graduating, and he did not. He explained that it just made Richard feel very upset, which is understandable, and that he would now have to work full-time. I do feel bad for him, and this might have been his way of lashing out and just dealing with this stage of his life. However, I didn't necessarily want to be the one dealing with it. Then there it was, the light at the end of the tunnel. I looked at the schedules and he was nowhere on the schedule. A little background information: the cafe/store that I work for has 4 different locations in the same train station. There's the smallest little cafe where we only sell coffee and little snacks. A larger cafe/shop that's often not buzzy at all, but we do sell a lot more things and bake more there. The second to largest and most visited cafe/store, which is where I work most of the time. It's a lot more crowded. It's the center point of the station, and we have all the stock of our store, but also the stock of the busiest cafe store. And the busiest cafe/shop that attracts both the people at the shopping center because it's directly in front of the entrance of the station, and the people who are traveling by train. There are often 3 to 4 people working here instead of the normal to that work in the place where I work normally. I opened up all the schedules and then I just saw his name. All of his shifts were now at the busiest cafe/shop at the whole station. The idea of working there stresses me out. Even with 3/4 people, the speed at which you're supposed to be working is insane. No one gets to just do nothing. That's literally close to impossible, because there's nowhere for you to hide. There are 2 entrances with rows of people just coming in from the shopping center entrance and the train station entrance. The laziest people still have to be productive there, because they have 4 coffee stations and you have to constantly fill the store or bake foods. Now, because he has quit his schooling and he'll be working full-time, he has to work at the last cafe/store. This is because he's been working at the overall cafe/store for about 5 years now, so he should be able to handle it. Now, the people who work at the busiest cafe/shop aren't as forgiving as people who work at other locations. At all the other locations, when someone has no other option, it's possible to do all the work by yourself if you don't take breaks and work hard during the 8-hour shift. Now, the same effort for them is comparably when they have 3 people for the first 6 hours and then 2 people for the last 2 hours. I also get to now work at least 5 days a week at the smallest cafe for about 2 or 3 weeks, before working both at my normal place and at the smallest cafe. It will take getting used to, because you work all alone and you have very few tasks that you can do. I think that both the shift of where Richard is going to work and where I'm going to work is going to be beneficial. Richard will be in a more high energy, high productivity and high consequences location, where he needs to work hard, smart and fast. And I'll be in a very relaxed and minimal tasks location, where I need to learn how to be calmer and more relaxed at work. I'll need to learn how to be less anxious and not take everything as serious, which might be possible in a more low-stress situation. This is just a side job for me to take care of my family and pay for college, and I have to learn to not act like my life depends on it. Hopefully we'll both improve from this change. Fine, we can play it that way if you want. I sell cars. I also work for a very corporate-run dealership that has a lot of rules, and depending on the level of management depends on their ability to discount blah blah right. I've also been with this dealer for a really long time, so I know how to play the game. It can be a pita at times, but if you learn how to play your cards right, you can take advantage of their rules. Now we have a rule. Once a new car hits 90 days, we start doing 2 things. We offer bonus to the salesperson who sells it. We discount the car to move it. The idea is we want to move our old inventory first. So I'm chilling and I get a call. A guy is on a business trip and says he sees we got a truck he likes. I look it up and I notice it's been on our lot for over 140 days. It doesn't have a clearance discount on it. I give him the price I'm able to, and he asks me if I have any wiggle room since it's a 2020 and not a 2021. I go, would $500 do it? He counters me roughly another $200 to bring it below a certain price point. I ask if I agree, will you give me a deposit right now? He goes, yay. I go, you know, yeah, I'll do it, let's do a deal. Now the reason why I said $500 is because I know it's the maximum amount my sales manager can discount a vehicle without approval. When he countered me above that, I knew it was going to be a fight to get the deal accepted, but I figured giving a customer a $700 discount is better than giving him a $2,000 clearance discount. We do the deal, he signs it, I send the deal up for approval. My manager yells at me, tells me I can't do the discount. I explain that it's an aged unit, it's supposed to have a clearance discount, and it doesn't, so we should just do it. He says customer has to agree to a higher price. I go fine, I'll talk to him. So I walk outside, play on my phone, answer some emails, come back and go customer says honor the deal or refund him his money. Manager goes can't do it, refund the money. I go okie dokie. So I don't refund the money, but I drop the unit back in stock. I call up a higher level manager and point out that he screwed up and didn't do anything about this aged inventory. He thanks me for pointing it out and says we'll do $1,500 off and see how quick it sells. I ask what about a bonus? He goes if you sell it I'll give you a $150 bonus. I go fantastic, now I work for a dealer that doesn't pay me a percent, but a set amount per car, so this discount isn't cutting into my commission. I call the customer up and I say, hey Mr. Customer, I didn't notice it but this morning the truck you did a deposit on was included in a clearance list. I'm going to give you the clearance discount and your price is now approx $800 lower. Customer is super happy, thinks I'm the best guy ever. I'm smiling cause I just made an extra $150. Later that afternoon my manager comes in and goes, Sting, did you drop that truck back in stock? I said no, customer is going to buy it. He goes, oh, he agreed to a higher price. I smile and go, nope, I got a clearance discount on it. My manager smirks at me and goes, you got a bonus too, didn't you? I smiled and said sure did. Malicious compliance is my dealership refused to do the common sense thing and give a customer a $700 manager discount. So instead they gave me a $1,500 clearance discount and $150 bonus. Inmate thinks I'm a new CO and that he can run all over me. I'm a corrections officer in a local jail and have worked there for 14 years. We're pretty laid back for a jail, but it's still a jail. When an inmate asks for something and gets told no, the answer is no, having spent the previous 10 years in retail. This is the dream. Also, when an inmate is told to do something, they're expected to do it. I should also mention here that my shift sergeant and I have been working together for about 8 years, and I've been there 2 years longer than he has. I should also mention that my sergeant is very protective of his staff. The cast, me equals me, Sarge equals my shift sergeant. Inmate equals some 20-ish-year-old kid who thinks he can run over the new guy. Back in 2014 I had a bunch of vacation time built up. So my wife and I took a 2-week vacation to go to Cooperstown to see the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame and watch the induction ceremony. Being huge Atlanta Braves fans, we had a lot of fun watching Bobby Cox, Greg Maddux, and Tom Glavine get inducted. When I got back to work, I'm doing my rounds and an inmate approaches me. Now I don't recognize this guy, so he must be someone who was arrested while I was on vacation. He immediately starts in on me like he owns the jail. Inmate, hey, I missed yard call because I was asleep. I need to go out to the yard now. Me, too bad, you should have woken up when we did yard call for your dorm. You'll just have to wait for the next one tomorrow. Inmate, what do you know, you're just the new guy. Get me your sergeant. Me, trying not to laugh and knowing Sarge will get a kick out of this. Okay, wait right here. I point to the spot he's standing in, expecting him to be there or at least close by when I get back. I finish my rounds and call Sarge on the radio. Me, hey Sarge, I got an inmate down here that says he needs to talk to you. Sarge, well, what does he want? Me, trying to keep from laughing, he thinks I'm the new guy and can run over me because of it. Sarge, I'll be right there. When Sarge arrives, we both go back into the dorm and lo and behold, inmate isn't waiting where I told him to. Sarge, well, where is he? Me, I don't know. Me yelling, hey inmate, Sarge is here to talk to you. Inmate, still acting like he owns the jail, walks out of his cell and approaches Sarge. Hey Sarge, I missed yard call and the new guy here won't let me go out. Sarge, so, if you miss yard call, that's your problem, not mine or his. Next time we call yard call, get your lazy butt out of bed. Inmate, interrupting Sarge, but you don't understand. Sarge, interrupting inmate, and getting louder, no. You don't understand. When a member of staff gives you an answer, that is the answer. Furthermore, when an officer tells you to wait somewhere, you do it. You don't walk away. Inmate, trying to make excuses, but Sarge, this new guy. Sarge, interrupting inmate again, still pretty loud, this is Officer Me. You will refer to him as Officer Me, not the new guy. Furthermore, Officer Me here has been working in this jail since before they put the paint on the walls, so if he gives you an answer, that is definitely the answer. Now, go lock down. Inmate, looking like he feels a foot tall, but Sarge, go, lock down. Inmate goes and locks down, and Sarge and I go to his office. We have a good laugh and Sarge wants inmate locked down for 3 days for disrespecting staff. But since we got a good laugh and a good story, I convince him to just make it the rest of the day. I later go back and talk to inmate to give him his lockdown paperwork. Turns out he's not really a bad guy, just pretty dumb, and he apologized. Since he's become a regular, we still get a good laugh about that whenever he comes back to jail. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.